So the goal, as we went out into the mist last year, was solicitors and/or police. So solicitors proved to be impossible. The law firm had one go. We had various tries with three unions, their lawyers, other lawyers, the Employment Advisory Support Service, the EHRC. Obviously, the commissioners didn't bother to give me a hand. Anyone really. So the city of Birmingham is now clearly ungovernable. Because the son of a former court defence solicitor can't get a solicitor to deal with any kind of matter. So basically QA stuff, medication and the law, to serious criminal misconduct. Now the reason for that is because the workplace environment, if you're first hearing my voice, is very cult-like, and you're around people who've been in the job for many decades in some cases, but along the way many of them have forgotten how it worked, or turned a blind eye, or said nothing when the activists came in or went along with them. So of course, because of the way the political project works, these people are now somehow corrupt. So if you said nothing and did nothing, you're either too unintelligent to know what's happening, or you are corrupt. So it's one or the other, basically. If you ever proactively went along with it, you are seriously corrupt, because no intelligent person would ever do that. You'd ask questions, so what is this stuff, what are we actually doing in reality? When you don't get a satisfactory answer, you would, not do so. But of course, Roney has gone along with Gilbourne, who is, David Gilbourne, who is sort of running a corrupt protection racket effectively. They got caught in the university's cookie up revolting, dangerous nonsense, but they carried on because A, for money, and B, because the nonsense was so dangerous. When they're caught doing that kind of stuff, even under existing British law, they're going to jail. It's just they're using what's called postmodernist tools to convince lots and lots of effectively zombies that what they're saying is based on reality when it isn't. And of course the zombies now wake up to reality that the polis of Birmingham is now not what it was, shall we say. But the current position is it's now like a sort of a murder mystery play along at home game. You've got 54,000 properties which can't be moved. I mean, this is an oversight position of Edinburgh. When you're thinking about defence and taking back cities, you want to sort of, take a scope of the landscape and think about where your artillery is going to go if you want to blow up bits of the city. Of course, we don't want to blow up the city, you want to blow up Birmingham. So taking the city back, city sieges are generally fairly messy businesses. They have high casualty rates. You want to minimise British casualties where possible, but given the sort of level of filth and the sort of slums, the sort of slums my late grandmother lived in, I'm pretty happy to just glass the place. I mean, a few artillery shells into the place would be good. Build new factories in the rubble. Out of destruction comes creation in many cases, and it'll be a cheap test case for the new army as we do the defence review once. Lowe's guy comes in and gets serious about drone warfare and security. And security, of course, if Burnham was legitimate, would be taking back Birmingham. But of course, his Home Secretary is attacking the country, and they're using the communications technology put out by the state broadcaster to lull the British into blissful sleep as we go off, and they try and speed the project up, as they say, to finish us off. The problem they've got, though, is the Romans couldn't take this place. So in the modern world, it's a bit easier for the Romans. There's ports, there's plains, there's universities. There's always quite a lot of Romans here, and some of them probably do deserve having their heads cut off as well. I think one of them did. But once the British actually get proper political representation back and sort of realised, these sort of pathos tactics have been working to submit our institutions. Our institutions, of course, were not meant for other people to come in and run them. They're meant for the British. We generally sort of went out into the world and did our colonialism thing, as Bruce Gillies says, and set up these outposts in other countries. But as some of the residents of Green Lane have demanded their governance seats, as many of our colonial subjects once did, we remember why we didn't actually want these people as governors, really. So they're quite good at maintaining order, but they're not really good at stamping out corruption or that kind of stuff. And of course, you now look at the total breakdown of order, because there's no possible way you can clear the corruption out without sending police and, at this point, the army into places like Green Lane to clear some of those people out. So you can do anti-migration draws in the political sense, so banning, animal torture is probably a good idea. In Britain, we don't really agree with, slitting cows' throats while they're alive or screaming at them and trying to make their deaths as miserable as possible. So you can sate the blood of your fake deity. We don't tend to do that kind of stuff. The reason for that is if you don't sort of attack people, the mental impulses get to run around their brains, and it makes them more intelligent. So you can do it selfishly, but also your children will be more intelligent than your grandchildren, and you won't end up like the sort of feral orcs in Green Lane trying to put a brave face on this as they attack the children after all this rape stuff, and they're just revolting. But yeah, so we have an observation position as part of the trade of Birmingham. So you're talking 54,000 properties, huge portfolio stashed about the city. Unless the Brummies can make this disappear between now and tomorrow, anybody in the country can walk into the Civil Justice Centre on Bull Street in Birmingham, speak to David Fearn's staff. I'm sure they'll be there fairly regularly, and see if the police can point him out. Fearn is under the impression that he can kill his court officers. So in the job, there was sort of a slightly running joke that if you sent an email off, that was the end of any matter. In legal terms, sometimes it is. But if I'm saying to this guy in a gymnasium, no, I need a solicitor because I need to report serious organised crime and ensure my own safety, then he refused to do that. So I will put in personal prosecution against him when we find him, but it's also he's a criminal, so you can't actually do that in employment law. You can't decide that when there's an emergency, you don't do as you're told in those kind of situations. You do as you're told. We're maintaining data security, getting it away from criminals, and getting my personal safety out as well as whatever assets I could. So Fearn has done nothing. All he's done is obstruct and try and be a predator. So he will be interviewed under caution when he's found, and that'll lead to departmental reviews. If you receive a summons for a possession order from the City of Birmingham, unless Fearn's been removed from the department, it'll have his name on. If you've got anybody other's name on it, come and speak to me, but we'll see what happens then. You can reach me via video link if you want, so gorwell8484@protonmail.com. Want me to appear via video link, I'll happily come in and discuss the failings of the service, help out with the case review free of charge. We'll help out your representative in Shelton discussing how the department is run. In general terms, not just finance, of course, the general sort of overall situation within the housing stock, and we can discuss compensation due from the City of Birmingham for the managing director's antics, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of legal inferences you can make when you're not willing to take money from John Cotton to attack children on behalf of his managing director. There are some things in life you can't buy, and one of those is sort of dignity, really. And you can't really work in that city and have dignity if you're working for people like that. The only way to sort of save your soul, as it were, is to kill them. There is absolutely no way that someone who behaved like that, a century ago, would have gotten away with it. The British were a very, very violent society. If you broke the law, we would just kill you or ship you off to the colonies, this kind of stuff, because we don't actually want criminals running around hurting people. That causes societal problems. But because of the Platonists, that kind of broke down, and we're now in the sort of postmodernist state. It's all been corrupted. But again, we can get that back. We can get it back. There is no reason why, given the sort of digital archive records we've got and the benefit of being here, is all the Euro Zero stuff doesn't matter. The stuff that's in their databases just incriminates them. The silicon was created by more intelligent men and women than them, and they filled it with this shit, and it just incriminated them. It's the same dynamic as the workers of England. So Steve, I think I can't even remember his name now, Stephen Morris, has no idea of medicine and the law changes. Because of his ignorance and arrogance, he does this sort of kabuki with a laptop to absolve himself of any responsibility and talks in the third party. And of course, as soon as he's investigated for potential corruption, the third party stuff just comes up, doesn't it? You can't impersonate someone else to maintain the postmodernist illusion of consensus. Morris is just a crook. So when we're saying to people still stuck there, if you want a strategy, just get out of the place. Just get out. Because if you've got Mitchell and Phillips saying they want an investigation, they know what's coming at the city. So these people are well insulated. They've got a lot of money. They can't have managed it that badly. They can do what I can do and just just exit. But if you're struggling at the moment, I would say, see what you can do about creating a forward plan, get momentum, and just get out of the city while the current apparent owners decide that the Kingdom of Mercia was built by them, and tell us such, and chase us out of the city. But because they skipped history, they skipped Mercia to the present day. So we've now got satellites pointing at them. You've got cameras who can scan their retinas. You can get up in their face with lovely high definition cameras. You can pull apart every statement, and you don't even need torture these days. I mean, you speak to them in Socratic questions using a computer, AI to help you out. We can get these guys out of public bodies really, really easy. If we were doing the sort of Skynet stuff with possession orders, we can do that kind of stuff in internal compliance. Sit down some of these crooks with Grok, and you can pull their stories apart. We've done it quite clearly with people like Agentieri and the managing director, and we're not even loading the cognition off to AI. I'm doing this with a Chinese telephone in most cases. I wonder why these people are hiding from police and solicitors. But the good thing, again, if you're not a Hegelian thinker, you can think in more on two variables. So one that always gets them is time. They're too stupid to think about history and any kind of statements they make, think about the second order consequences of their actions, so they get into these foolish positions. But what they also fail to think about is elevation, up, down. So the proximal concerns, you're playing in these meeting rooms, lovely, wonderful. But if I can see you from above, oh dear, oh dear. And given that we've caught you so many times, is the City of Birmingham going to try and lock us out? Because we're doing this deliberately, by the way. The laptop is still here, so that remains Birmingham's court service. You've got 54,000 properties in the bag. So the job is sort of like Neo in the Matrix. It's this old sort of antiquated database system that humans exist in. So these people are abstractions, but their human lives in these properties. So you've got to make the distance between the laptop and the person at lightning speed through silicon, having never spoken to them. So if your case management process is corrupt, it's not just a bad day, it's you can't do it, right? There's no way I could legally walk into a court and say, well, I've just attacked this guy in this flat here, having never spoken to him, because the guy who passed me the case couldn't be bothered to pick up a phone. That's not compliant. That's not legally compliant. And if I'm passing through stuff that's shit, I mean, it's my job. I can't do that. So I can't do it on a personal level. I can't do it on an ethical level. Do you think I'm going to walk into someone's flat and just attack them? I've never met them. When we could say, well, I pick up the phone and you've got problems, we'll get you some extra money, we'll get you some assistance, we'll come and talk to you, come and talk to me, we'll get you some help personally, we'll see what we can do. Because you don't need to be paid to do that kind of stuff, you just talk to people. But the Brummies can't do that either. So again, for the recording, we'll get this uploaded once I get back. But we're now, I think we're Tuesday now, aren't we? So we're now around 1 p.m. in the afternoon. I can guarantee you there's no police assistance. Again, I can guarantee you I'm quite close to police in Scotland. They're not difficult to find. We're trying to speak with them since November. Their police standards apparently can't cope with the concept that you've got to actually get police and representation to report serious misconduct. We can do quite a lot from a bench, but you can't do everything from a bench. This should be a fairly obvious inference for a police detective. I don't even know. But anyway, we'll give them till midday tomorrow. We'll play the daily game. Can Deborah Agentieri walk into either Sutton police station and speak about theatre performances, or can she walk into a specific law firm full of people who may recognise me? I'm sure after working for the local authority for close to 2 decades and living there for 43 years, everyone knows exactly who I am.